I think for me, I like to consider myself as a natural tinkerer or somebody that likes to try new things. And I think that really has propelled my career forward, just being able to provide solutions, whether it's internal or with donors. Just being that person that people can trust and almost like a thought partner. I don't want like a think tank type of attitude, I guess. Leading with that attitude, I think, has really opened a lot of doors for me.
Welcome to the Philanthropy Masterminds podcast, brought to you by DonorSearch, the show that takes you inside the lives of thought leaders, innovators, and changemakers in fundraising, philanthropy, and civil society. I'm your host, Jay Frost. Ryan Zapolski is one of 4 individuals honored with the Outstanding Young Professional Award by the Association of Fundraising Professionals in 2024. Ryan serves as Senior Manager of Development at Smile Train, a nonprofit dedicated to comprehensive cleft care, celebrating its 25th anniversary. At Smile Train, he oversees the mid-level giving and stewardship team, and his expertise in donor research has led to numerous major gifts, including a $1 million donation. We caught up with Ryan in Toronto at AFP Icon, the Fundraising Association's annual international gathering.
Maybe a good place to start would be to talk a little bit about Smile Train itself. People don't know, not everyone knows, I should say, about Smile Train. Can you give a little window on what the work is?
Sure, of course. So Smile Train is the world's largest cleft-focused organization. Our Teach a Man to Fish model is a little unique compared to some of the other mission-based nonprofits where we sponsor the care and we train local doctors to perform the care, whether it's surgeries, orthodontics care, speech therapy. It's a true variety of care that we offer so that the individual can live a full and healthy life. So that's kind of our model. We work in 80 plus countries around the globe, and we've performed over 1.9 million surgeries to this point in our 25 years. And we're really excited to keep moving forward and continue to innovate and just provide the best care we can around the world.
How did you become involved with Smile Train?
Sure. I had a little bit of a non-traditional entry to Smile Train where a friend of mine was looking for a fundraiser, and it just seemed to align. And I fell in love with the mission once I was doing my research. And to me, the low overhead spending was important too, to ensure that a lot of the money was going towards the care of individuals rather than the fluff in the background. So, like I said, fell in love with the mission almost immediately, and it's been a wonderful experience so far. We have such a great team. People are really dedicated to the mission. They want to see the organization thrive, and on the development team, we're a donor-first operation where we want to fulfill the wishes and dreams of our donors, and we want to make sure that they're having a real concierge experience in their philanthropy.
Talk about that a little more, that concierge experience. That's not a phrase I hear much in our space, and it's really important. Describe what that looks like.
Sure. I think for me in my work, I love to identify what the donors care about most and tailor their communications for me to fit that model or fit that description. I work with a variety of donors that are not directly linked to cleft themselves. They just fell in love with the organization for some reason or another along the way. And those folks, it's more of explaining the model to them, showing them some of the key highlights, some of the general good news that we have. But there's a lot of donors that I work with too that come from a background like speech therapy or orthodontics care. And for them, it's connecting them to leaders within our organization that are boots on the ground doing that work. And because they can give such a better story than I can, because I'm not out there doing the work. I like to see myself as a connector of people and showing them the real work that's being done out there.
It's a lot of surgeries. It's a lot of contact with a lot of people who have received direct support, direct care. I'm curious about a few things, but one is how Smile Train is connecting with those needs. How are you finding the people who need that support, cleft palate work?
Yeah, it's a really interesting part of our work, and it seems to differ by country to country. We have these wonderful collective leadership centers that are one-stop shop for these families where all of the care is in one hub. So that way they're not traveling to a variety of different doctors' offices to receive the care. So we're really proud of those, and I know they've certainly come a long way. And for us, it's just a wonderful way to centralize that care, and our partners are just so fantastic, and yeah.
Years ago when I worked in an NGO, one of the opportunities we had was to go into the field and see the work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've had that experience, because you're very close to it, doing what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Have you also had interaction with the people performing the work, or the people receiving the care?
I have had the wonderful opportunity to meet some of those folks in our New York City office. We have a wonderful program called Journey of Smiles HQ, where they bring those partners and those people out in the field to the office, and we just get to interact with them and talk about what they're doing, what they're seeing out there. And for me, I get to relay that information to donors in a more of a sensitive way. And we also have, on the flip side, a Journey of Smiles program, we call it, where New York or U.S.-based staff go into the field and see the work. I think I'm next in line on the list, so I'm really eager to take my own journey, but patient all the same, and looking forward to just seeing the work in action soon.
Sure. And I'm sure that helps also in mapping that donor journey that a lot of us talk about in fundraising. If you're frontline, you're experiencing that, you can translate that for others. It's really great. Plus, it must be personally rewarding. I mean, you already get the reward by doing the work, but I'm sure that seeing the work firsthand would also be pretty fulfilling.
Absolutely. We do a really wonderful job of photo marketing, pictures, and things like that. So you get to read all the stories that come with those too. So it's really heartfelt, touching, but I'm sure seeing the work will just completely transform my experience as it is today. And I know we also offer these trips to donors as well, so they can self-identify and register as well. And hopefully on the same trip that I have, I'll probably let my donors know in my portfolio that I'm going on this one. Would love to have you join me, and hopefully we can have that experience together.
Can you talk about that a bit? Because these donor trips,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen organizations like Save the Children and others do those very effectively, both to make sure that the donors really understand what's going on and
Mm-hmm.
they can bond with it because they've made it happen. But also they're effective fundraising vehicles as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about those trips and how they've been important to Smile Train?
Sure. I think, there's the obvious things that come out of it, like fundraising and case for support, but the one aspect of them that I really have grown to appreciate is the cohorts that form from those trips. Mm-hmm. We've seen some really everlasting relationships that are built from donors that go on these trips together, and they always recall the experience. Remember that one place we went to, and we had such a great time, and the staff that was on the trip with us they were so kind. And that's just the really organic part of this work that I love, is just seeing those faces light up for those experiences and those memories. And it's just one of those moments where I just stay quiet. I let them guide the conversation, and I listen, and I'll ask questions as needed, but it's just one of those autopilot moments that you just get to enjoy and smile through.
What were you doing before you got to Smile Train?
Sure. I was a fundraiser in the higher ed circuit a little bit. I was at Case Western Reserve University, before that University of Bridgeport, and then New England College. So I don't know if higher ed dropout's the right word to use, but that was my experience before Smile Train.
And this sounds like it's a very different sort of experience for you. So what's the biggest difference between that kind of higher ed fundraising experience and what you're doing today?
I think for me, the most stark difference is how donors self-identify to the organization. In higher ed, your alumni are your natural donor base, and they're wonderful people to work with and have just wonderful memories to listen to from their experience at the university or college. But they're not always bought into the mission as they're in their alumni stage. So at Smile Train, we're working with donors that have found us in their own way for some unique reason. And I think it's a little bit, as a gift officer, it's a little bit different. The discovery process is different, where part of my question is, how did you find us? And whereas in higher ed, that's not, you already know how they found you. So for me, it was a unique change in the discovery part of the conversation when I first started, but now it's almost second nature.
It's funny because as you say that, it's echoes of so many conversations I've had with people where they say, oh, higher ed, you have this built-in affinity. They went to school there, they're wearing your brand, they've got the sweatshirt, they're getting calls every whip stitch. And it's hard for us in the NGO sector or it's open constituency groups, other charities, because we don't have this built-in affinity. But you've just described something entirely different, which is choice.
Right.
Can you dive into that a little bit more? You've probably had conversations with donors where they've talked about what this means to them. What does that look like for them? What have they said to you that's shown that this kind of donor choice, where they're saying, this really means something to me, I can do something? How have they articulated that?
Yeah, I think I have found donors in my career to be very entrepreneurial, and they want to build upon their legacy that they've already started in their professional life, and now it's how can we apply that to my philanthropy?
You talked about what you were doing with AI, and I was asking you now about the donors and how they make this choice and what have they said and why they made it. And you talked about their entrepreneurial spirit. And I get the sense that you must have identified with them. And you said you identify as a millennial, but talk about that a bit more. How do you identify with these donors, this entrepreneurial sense about, making a decision as a donor?
Yeah, so I think that the entrepreneurial spirit really is crucial for me as a fundraiser because it challenges me to explore the organization as a whole, to find the right place for this donor where they would feel most heard and would love to hear more about. So in any organization I've worked for, whether in higher ed or at Smile Train, I've gotten to know the org chart frontwards, backwards, sideways, diagonal, and have really realized the connections between people. And once I have those connections and understand, I can direct, the right group of people to these donors so that they hear what is more meaningful to them instead of just getting a general letter or an email with statistics or things. It's, hey, you really care about orthodontics? I'm going to give you our top 5 orthodontics people over the course of the next few years. Obviously not all at once, it'd be crazy, but just giving those little snippets here and there to keep them engaged along the line.
How are you doing that? What kinds of technical capacities do you have within the organization to make those affinities known and make those connections?
Yeah, I think it all starts with organizational attitude and understanding of the process. My colleagues at Smile Train in particular are just extremely open to being out there and putting their story out there. And I think if they were a little more reserved, it'd be a lot more challenging to do that. But I think there's this wonderful organizational attitude where people are willing to help out. They want to see our donors feel valued, and they want their piece of the Smile Train story or puzzle to thrive. And when everybody at the organization has that attitude collectively, it's just lifting the entire organization higher. So it's a really powerful feeling, a really powerful culture, and I just hope I'm doing my part the best I can.
Well, it certainly sounds like you are. You mentioned the word millennial before. I wouldn't typically ask the millennial question because I don't like to put people in boxes. You haven't done that. You're just kind of helping to contextualize, which I love. And you're also receiving this award as a younger, person in the field.
Yeah, it's really no secret at this point.
That's right. So what does that mean? What does that mean to you? First of all, what does the award mean to you? But what does it mean that AFP is saying, here's a group of people who are I don't know if it's early stage in the profession, but at a point in the profession where they're making this impact and it's observable and it's a model. What does this all mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot. I was really, I don't want to say caught off guard, but it's just that you get that email and you're like, really? Like, wow, okay. And you see the other individuals that I shared the stage with, and their stories are extremely powerful. And I don't know, I guess I was joking, I give out so many awards in this profession. Receiving one is just a little paradoxical to me. So it's a tremendous honor just to be nominated for something like this, but to receive it was completely unexpected. And I think for me, I like to consider myself as a natural tinkerer or somebody that likes to try new things. And I think that really has propelled my career forward, just being able to provide solutions, whether it's internal or with donors, just being that person that people can trust and almost like a thought partner. I don't want like a think tank type of attitude, I guess. Just leading with that attitude, I think, has really opened a lot of doors for me. And I am super thankful for those that have believed in me along the way and have put some extra time and effort into seeing me thrive. So, I mentioned Jason Pomeroy, Marie Muvik, and Ashley Oakes yesterday on stage. They've all been incredible mentors to me, each in their own little flair, which has been incredibly helpful. And those are people that I know I can rely on along the way to check and balance myself a little bit, make sure I'm not going a little too crazy with my ideas and all of that. So it's, again, I'm so incredibly honored for this award. And I think, as you mentioned, it's a early to mid-career type of signal, but for me, it's almost like another launching pad. Like, okay, we've gotten to this part, like what's next? And what can I continue to build on to do my part in this industry? I don't know. Gosh.
You said the thing about tinkering, which I loved, that you're a tinkerer.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it this way, but I think millennials and younger, we're afraid to tinker. Just like it's part of our, I don't want to say a part of our nature, but it's just kind of how we were ushered through school and life is standardized testing, follow these instructions. And I think that's just built our mindset of, I'm going to follow the path that's been laid out. But
yeah, that's interesting.
But people, I think, like me, I it's funny, in high school, I was, my freshman year, we were graded on skills and not the courses. It was like a collective grading, and I got a C in creativity. It's like, well, that's strange. I don't know. But like reflecting on it, back then, I was stuck in that mindset of like going down the railroad and stuck on the tracks. So ever since I got that grade, I've challenged myself to like be a little more intentional with my creativity.
So what's the lesson in that for others who probably had a similar experience? I mean, that's not just, I don't know if you were in Cleveland, but that's not just a Cleveland experience, right? I mean, this is true. This is generational.
Sure.
So how can others, if they were in that mode, break free?
I think the way I did it was I found something, I find things that naturally I gravitate towards. And I just keep going down that path and I had a wonderful AI session this morning here in developing apps, and it made me realize like I'm already doing this a little bit, but how can I continue to step down the path that's been laid out for me through the tech that, I'm not a coder by nature, but there's tech out there that allows that creativity to thrive. And I think just flipping that switch, saying, okay, like I've identified this one area, I can keep going, and there's really no limit, right? Like you can keep adapting and adopting things in different ways. So I don't know, I guess that's kind of how I view it, and how I go about it.
When you talk to other younger fundraisers, define that as you will, are you seeing people also have this kind of desire to tinker with their organizations, not just how they fundraise, but maybe even how they're interacting with the community, like you talked about before with Smile Train, other ways that they can make these organizations vibrant, effective. What are you seeing that you think we can see more of in this next generation of practitioners?
No, that's a great question. And I have a mentee back home in Cleveland, and we recently had a really great conversation about planned giving. She's relatively newer to the profession, and she's done some incredible work at her organization, closing some 5 to 6 figure gifts already. And she's been given just the plate of planned giving, and her organization just said, go for it, like dive in. And I love that was her challenge, because she came to me like, well, what do I do? I don't know anything about planned giving. I said, I love planned giving. I think it's a wonderful conversation to have. And I told her, I said, this is a wonderful opportunity for you, because you've been given this situation with limited guardrails on what you can do. So I think the power of the profession is now I've been directing her to some of the planned giving experts that I know, and plannedgiving.com is a great resource as well, just so she can form her own experience in this planned giving sphere, and she can apply it to her organization in her own way, which I think is like the beauty of fundraising. I think her organization and Smile Train, our takes on planned giving would be so different just based on size and model, and her organization is more Cleveland focused, whereas Smile Train's international. We're gonna tackle the planned giving question completely differently, but that's where creativity comes from. Is you're gonna adapt these policies or these gift agreements that fit you the right way.
Right, and that work presumably better for the people who are supporting the work as well.
Ultimately, that's the goal. Like, you want your donors to have materials, resources, and requests that fit them, and not just this planned box that might not fit them.
In general, what are you imagining as you look forward?
Sure. I think over the last year, I love Smile Train. It's a great place to be, but I'm looking more to my own community, and like, how can I help as a board member of our local AFP chapter, and getting a better understanding of the challenges that we have as a nonprofit community. So we've done a lot of great work. I'm a part of the communications subcommittee, so it's how do we amplify the message of the people that are doing some incredible things in our community. I mean, gosh, we have a wonderful organization, Birthing Beautiful Communities in Cleveland. They just received a Mackenzie Scott grant, and for doing incredible things that we already knew about, but it's how can I continue to amplify voices like them to showcase the Cleveland nonprofit community, because it's a thriving place. We have, I think, over 15,000 nonprofits in the greater Northeast Ohio area, and which is just a striking number to think about alone, but everyone's doing something incredible in their own way. So for me, supplementing my professional role at Smile Train with some community work has been really meaningful, and I'm looking forward to exploring that a little bit more.
That's it for today's episode of the Philanthropy Masterminds podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Smile Train and its work, visit smiletrain.org. Our thanks to our sponsor, DonorSearch, the world leader in fundraising intelligence, and our producer, Jack Frost. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, the DonorSearch YouTube channel, or wherever you like to listen, and consider giving us a like and a positive review so others can find us too. Check out our live webinars and webcasts on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and come back next week for another interview with a leader in the world of social good. Until then, this is Jay Frost. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.